The doors are open here at the House of Wellness.
Today we find out what happens when you meet your perfect match, but they've got kids.
We look into the effects of being sacked and how it makes you feel.
What happens to you when it's gone? Immense fear.
And later, if you want to live more happy, I know it's bad grammar, but great advice, we'll show you how.
Inspiration, smiles, advice and good food. We've got a show packed with all that plus more.
I come from South America, from Chile, and we like to dance.
So let's all get well, stay well, live well and look fabulous.
Right here in the House of Wellness. Hello there, welcome to you into the House of Wellness, and hello to you, Zoe. Nice to be
Hello everybody. We are excited to be here. We're going to find out about how to live more happy. Now, I know it's bad grammar, you're going to have a conniption. Look, I don't really care about the bad grammar, but great rule.
Yeah, look, we should be bringing more happiness into our lives, and to do so, we go to our pharmacist, Gerald Quigley, who's here. Hello.
Hello, everybody. On the A to Z of vitamins today, we're going to be talking about children's health, and we've got lots of exciting news.
Thank you for that. Looking forward to it. But first, something we've all experienced, and every time it happens, we're reminded again how not fun it is to be rejected.
Too true, Ed. And the rejection can stay with you. Did I ever tell you about the time I was down to the final 2 for a role in Home and Away?
Many times.
Didn't get it.
Alf didn't like the chemistry?
No. I'm still gutted. But apparently that is good for me. Joe Stanley is here to explain why. Joe, missing out on a job or worse, getting fired is good for us. Can I...
Look, it can be, and I feel your pain with that home and away rejection, but in a way I'm glad to hear it because it's nice to know we're not alone. Yeah. We all get rejected, and most definitely, particularly being fired, it can be an emotional gut punch. I know I've experienced it. You feel like a complete loser, let's face it, but I found out that it doesn't need to be that dramatic and it can actually be turned into success. Rejection. It's one of the early things we learn. But it doesn't get any easier to deal with. It hurts. It can leave you feeling confused, shocked, intensely sad, and at times a wee bit angry. You know, life's full of rejections, whether it's being dumped by your partner, not making the soccer team at school, or for a lot of us, it's being sacked. It happened to me recently, and it is pretty painful. You have to work through a lot of things. You know you're going to be fine at the other end. But just for a little while, you do feel like you need to wallow. Sure, I spent a bit of time on the couch, had a glass of wine or two to ease the pain. But I also spent some quality time with friends. These are all fair and reasonable reactions, aren't they? Well, I caught up with clinical psychologist Brett Jude Fernandez to get an understanding of why rejection affects us so deeply.
Well, humans are social animals, and at the core of being social and building relationships is about acceptance. In fact, with what we've found, at least what research has shown us, that rejection, which is a form of, say, abandonment or neglect, is more damaging than acute abuse. So psychologically, rejection is the same as being cut out of a relationship, and at the core of it being told you're not good enough. It's really important to let yourself feel what you're feeling, because that in itself is what we need to work with. Nothing ever good in life comes from everything being rosy. Yeah, sure, your boss told you this. Yeah, sure, your Tinder date didn't super like you and you did it to them. Whatever it is, you have a chance to look at yourself and think about, okay, how can I do things better? How can I do life better here? It's going to take time.
In the end, it comes down to how we handle rejection. We can let it defeat us, or we can see it as a great opportunity. Some of the world's most successful people have been rejected. Elvis Presley was told to go away and learn to drive a truck. J.K. Rowling had 12 publishers reject her with Harry Potter. And Oprah Winfrey was told that she's too emotionally connected to her stories to be a journalist. All rejected, and aren't we glad that they were? One lady who'd had her life flipped on its head at the age of 52 is Jane Turner. Jane was retrenched from her job, where she thought she was safe for life.
I was in the public service my whole life, so I'm a person with a high value on security. Gone. What happens to you when it's gone? Immense fear. Immense fear, because I'd been in that place for 15 years. It was like family, it was like home, and the rejection buttons were being triggered all over the place. Once I picked my heart off the ground and put it back in my chest, I just thought, enough. I can't take this anymore. I'm just going to find what I can do, leverage that to build a business and see what happens.
And what happened was this. Jane is now a sought-after corporate speaker and business consultant, and as the author of 2 very popular books on how to overcome adversity, she has never been busier or happier.
The big one for me was that I wound up on a stage speaking at the Women's Economic Forum in India, a forum that has some 2,000 delegates going to it. And there's little old Jane Turner, who'd been a public servant their whole life up to the age of 52, who would still be a public servant now. But would I be as alive now? Absolutely not, Jo.
What an amazing story of how wonderful life can be on the other side. But remember, you can take your time to get there. It took Jane 3 years. There's no right way of doing it, and there's no time in which you have to do it. You just have to process what has happened and embrace all stages of the emotion. And if you're feeling a little bit of anger, don't take it out on yourself or your friends or your family. You could do something like this. This is Fury Yoga. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right? Why bottle up all that hurt when you can drop it hard like your ex-boss and feel as free as a Zen badass in the process? Keely, why Fury Yoga?
So we wanted to make a nice space for people to come and have a vent and then get on with their weekend.
These sessions take all the goodness of a 60-minute vinyasa yoga class and combines it with some old-fashioned Aussie venting techniques, which I guarantee will make you feel awesome afterwards.
We designed the class so that it's very releasing. It's about release. So not only do we get a big sweat on, let stuff out, have a big yell, they feel better, they feel lighter, and they float out the room at the end.
Wow, that was so awesome. It was cathartic and empowering, and a reminder that rejection doesn't have to be a time of loss. You can take control, and it can be an exciting time of new beginnings.
Great story, Jo, and believe me, we'll be talking about Fury Yoga.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
But they're right about the rejection. It's sort of a cruise, doesn't it? I remember my first rejection from Miranda, age 10 at school. I know. It started like this domino effect of rejections. I know.
But, you have to process that in time, and maybe there's still a little part of that. And each time you're rejected, it triggers all those feelings.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And when, just back to home and away.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, when you don't get a job or you lose a job, you can really feel like it's the end of your career, that things are over, that you should just give up. It's really nice to watch Jane and see that kind of succession of what's to come.
It's all about shifting your perception from what have I lost to what have I got in front of me now. It's all about opportunity, and you are limitless boundaries of possibility. You just have to see it that way.
Yes.
Now, yoga we think is meant to be peaceful and calm, but you were just getting into the fury side of things.
Yeah. I must admit, I liked the fury more than the yoga. That came more naturally to me.
You're like, let's just do more of the, fingers up.
That's it. Yeah, I like the language and the bird for sure. Don't we all?
You did well, and I want you to know, Jo, we'd like you to come back and do more stories with us.
No rejection here.
No rejection. Oh, that's lovely.
We are the House of Wellness. We're here for you, and the best place to visit us is online. Check out all the tips we have, advice. You can catch up on past episodes of the show at houseofwellness.com.au.
And if you want to have a chat, give us a call, 1800 469 788. Ed, are you going to be on the other end of the phone?
Absolutely. We'll take calls and questions with Gerald a little bit later on. You can always stay connected with us via Facebook as well. Look for the House of Wellness.
It's another big show. We learn what thermic effects of food mean, delicious dishes, and so much more still to come. Plus, we find out what it means when dating people with kids.
Coming up next, a musician's life that should have been over, but instead, it got better. It's all here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back to the show. Well, our house hero this week is a little different. We'll meet a man with a passion for making music, faced with no choice but to have his arm amputated due to an aggressive cancer. But it's what his friends did to keep the tunes alive in his life that will astound you.
1, 2. I feel grateful because I feel like I've been given a lot by the community. I feel very lucky, and I really need to give back.
It's been said the human spirit is stronger than anything that can happen to it, and this man's story is living proof. This is a story that celebrates the human spirit and how it always shines brightest through the darkest of times.
At a fairly early age, I realised that music was a part of my soul. It was a part of who I am. And I don't know why that happened, and I don't seem to have had a choice.
For many years, Neil enjoyed an exciting and successful career until 2013, when a lump on his left arm threw his life into turmoil.
The day I found out I had cancer was the day of the big snow about 5 years ago in Katoomba, and the place was dead quiet. The sky was just jet black. The ground was just pure white. It was quite apocalyptic. And I just knew that I had something that was nasty.
A month of intensive chemotherapy had no effect on the sarcoma. Amputation, Neil's only option.
Yeah, so we decided to have a party. "300 people turned up, and musicians from all over the state came and celebrated music and celebrated storytelling and two arms.
It's a very special gig, so very cool that everyone's here. It makes me feel loved and makes me feel like I can cope. Yeah.
2 days later, Neil woke up in recovery. The operation, a success.
It wasn't until a little bit after that I started thinking, what am I going to do now? How can I survive? I can't be a musician anymore. I definitely can't be a saxophone player anymore. It was hard enough playing with 10 fingers. With two arms, you know, what am I going to do? How am I going to live my life? How am I going to make a living for my family? And how am I going to look after my kids?
His good friend Mike discovered a man who could build a one-handed saxophone.
So with the help of the community and my family and my colleagues, we raised the money to get the saxophone. And then the journey started of being a one-handed musician, which is a whole new story.
In 2016, Neil was invited to join the Paralympic band, the Superhumans.
That was an incredible experience. These musicians were definitely not disabled. They were some of the most able people I'd ever met, which is another revelation, really, that what is a disability?
Nowadays, Neil's giving back by sharing his music and his wisdom.
I teach kids music, and I see in the kids when I'm teaching them the importance of being able to express. And when they play, they're kind of telling a story. You can feel it. It's like they're telling their story. Everything they've been and heard is coming out in their playing. And that's priceless, and it's so essential. And I think we can't have a society without stories.
Great news, and even better news, Neil's just completed his 5-year cancer scan and he's cancer-free, so isn't that just fantastic?
Amazing.
And of course, as we saw, he continues teaching kids music, including running a couple of local school bands as well, so he's back and just loving life.
Has to be my favourite part of the show. Yep. I love those house heroes. Now, if you're single and ready to mingle, it seems that there is no better time for it. Matchmaking TV shows are everywhere and there is no end to the number of dating apps around. It is booming.
Yeah, and with all those opportunities, there's a very good chance you'll find Mr. or Mrs. Right. However, If children come into the mix, that can be challenging when you're trying to start a relationship, especially for those who've never had kids or been around them much.
So, to help us out, we are joined by relationship and intimacy expert, the lovely Dr Nikki Goldstein.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello. Nikki, what do we do? I mean, it's such a big, booming industry, this dating world. What happens when we meet someone that has kids?
Well, I think we need to actually look at the chances that this is very likely these days.
Yeah.
You know, we're dating longer. We've got this divorce rate that's increasing. So the chances that you're going to be dating somebody that has previously been married and has children is very high. Now, I think it's really important that we don't see this as baggage, because I feel like we've had these myths circulating around that, oh, you don't want anyone that has baggage. So we actually need to change the mindset and start going, children in a relationship, like somebody that has previous children, can bring more love and fulfillment rather than seeing it as baggage. Once we start having those conversations about changing that mindset, I think then we're in a position to actually look at it in a different way.
How should we feel about the children that aren't our own?
Well, it can be very challenging because you're not their biological parent and you're coming into this situation. So I think, first of all, it's really important to get to know the parent first as a person away from a parent. Get to know them, get to see if you can connect with them. Is there something there that's really worth exploring? If that relationship is going well, then you can have a look at what role you have in these children's lives. You know, it's really important that you need to consider that there are other people that have not chosen to be into this mix, and they do need to come first.
And that's what I was going to ask. What do we need to think about if we want to commit to someone that has children?
Well, you do really need to be looking at sorting out all your stuff in your relationship. You know, any relationship needs communication, but obviously with this relationship, there is a lot of communication that's needed, also around roles. What role are you going to take in these children's life? What about parenting? You know, here you are faced in a new relationship, maybe having to have these discussions that normally you would have, you know, later down the track. So that communication is really important to make sure that you're both on the same page, but you also need to have that respect for the other person's parenting, you know, how they want to do things.
That's true. What about this curly one? How soon should you meet your new partner's children?
It's kind of like the new, instead of meeting the parents, we meet the children.
Yes.
Well, you know, the interesting thing with this one is there's no magic number, and it really depends on when you both feel that it is the right time. You know, what age are the children? You know, what do the children know about your relationship?
Maybe not after the first date.
No, you need to really make sure that you like this person up. And children are a great way to be that filter of, is this person good enough? Because you're having to deal with all this other stuff as well, then they really need to be a special person to continue dating them. So I think when you know that, then meet the children.
The Brady bunch were decades ahead of everything,
Weren't they? I know.
Hey, I know you cover a lot of this in your Single But Dating book as well, and you've kind of gone through this situation also. Should people just approach this differently from previous relationships when it's just been single guy, single girl?
Well, I do think you need to approach it differently, but you know, it's still a relationship that you're forming. So, you know, even though that you're having a relationship with somebody that has children, you still need to go through the same things that anybody else goes through when they're forming a relationship. Looking at trust, intimacy, communication, all of that.
All right, important tips. Thanks for this, Dr. Nikki. Learn to look for more love, not more fear. Respect the person's parenting skills if it's not something you're used to. And don't see this as a pecking order as well, like you're a distant second to the children involved.
Fascinating.
Great advice. Thanks, Dr. Nikki.
Thank you.
Stay with us. Plenty more still to come here on the House of Wellness.
Coming up, we've had lots of calls and emails. We are here to answer those.
And next, the easiest frittata you will ever make, and it's packed with goodness. Yummy. We're cooking next after the break on the House of Wellness. Yum! Another culinary treat from nutritious to delicious, and thanks to our kitchen master Zoe Bingley pulling for those ones.
It's always good to have those easy-to-make dinner options because I have no time in my life to cook anything.
True.
Did you know that quinoa is a great source of B vitamins?
The ancient grain indeed. Now, it is that time again for your calls. Gerald is back with us. Let's grab our first caller standing by. Sheila is on the line in Wetherall Park, New South Wales. How can we help?
I'm ringing about a friend's daughter who has very bad migraine. What can she do to relieve that?
Yeah, I mean, they're so crippling, aren't they? The full-on migraines.
And there is a clear difference, Ed, between a headache and migraines, because migraine comes with some nausea and some dizziness and a fear of bright lights. So, look, there's a few things, Sheila. The first thing is to try and help your the person with the migraine identify the trigger. There's always a trigger in migraine. So you've got to try and maybe keep a migraine diary. When did it happen? What was happening? There are herbs, one like particularly called feverfew, which is a good preventer, but I can't emphasise enough identifying the trigger.
Okay. Mine's cheese. I can't come to one of your cheese parties.
Are you joking?
No, I'm serious.
Cheese gives you a migraine. That's devastating.
So awful. Let's help Elizabeth in Upwey in Victoria. She's written us an email. She says her daughter-in-law has been diagnosed with Sjogren's disease. It's manifested itself with burning mouth syndrome and painful swelling in her hands and forearms. Any suggestions? What's Sjogren's?
Sjogren's is all about dryness, Ed.
Okay.
So everything is dry. Mouth, skin, everything. So, Elizabeth, the things to do is to look at moisture. So fish, omega-3 oils, very important. Moisturise every day. For burning mouth, soft foods, perhaps look at rinsing with a sodium bicarbonate solution because it's gently alkaline. But it's an ongoing issue with no single solution. You identify the things that are troubling you and then solve each one with a
multi-pronged attack.
Multi-pronged.
Okay, coming to you, Kaz, now in Kempsey in New South Wales. Thanks for standing by. How can we help?
I have a lupus rash. I've tried all cortisone creams, nothing helps. Just needed to know if there's something I can use.
Remind us what lupus is?
Lupus, it's an inflammatory, an autoimmune disease, Ed, so it's almost like the body attacking itself, characterised by inflammation and redness, and there's no easy solution. We've had some hard calls today, haven't we? And it's a sign of the frustration that's associated with something that probably has been identified as long-term. So again, stress control, omega-3s, really important, perhaps magnesium powder to help sleep at night. Anything to get quality of life back, and remember those things have to be compatible with probably the medications that Kaz is taking.
Hope that helps you out, Kaz. This is an email, last one from Helen in Stuart Park in Northern Territory. She writes, could you please advise me on what I can do for plantar fasciitis?
Very common. Plantar fasciitis is crippling. People with it say that they can't walk, they get out of bed in the morning and can hardly move. Look, there's lots of things. Anti-inflammatories, turmeric particularly, but these things usually end up with a consultation at a podiatry practice.
Right.
Often it ends up in an orthotic, but again, this is foot structure and needs to be identified. Treat the symptoms, sure, but the structure is important.
All right, keep calls and questions
calls.
coming. Yeah.
Okay, guys, now it is time for one of my house faves. Today I have Aven Physiolift Serum. Now, this is incredible for wrinkles. It firms the skin. And what is interesting, Ed, I know you're going to love this, it has a formula 2 times more concentrated than other moisturising agents.
Okay.
So it's a gentle formula and it's suitable for lots of skin. Like, we just had a call. They could use this product.
There are products within the Aven range for those couple of people with really severe dryness that are actually ideal.
Now, why is Aven Physiolift Serum like so unique compared to others?
The basis, Zoe, of the Aven range is actually a thermal water, a thermal spring water.
Okay.
And the company's been doing this since 1750 or something, so it's been around a long time. The thing that differentiates this is the support of what we call skin architecture. So you build a building, you've got foundations and architecture, and that's what this does. So it smooths wrinkles. It's outstanding for things like crow's feet.
Oh, let me get started.
And just things that usually trouble you when you look in the mirror. There you go. We've got a demonstration here. I can see improvements already.
I know, it's quick.
Give me a big dollop. All right.
Well, and there are some on set that probably need it.
Indeed. All right. Nice one. All right, if you'd like more tips and how to improve your health and wellness, look no further than our website, houseofwellness.com.au is where you need to go.
And GQ will take your calls on 1800 469 788.
We'll come back for more of those a little bit later on the show, and connect with us via Facebook as well. Look for the House of Wellness.
Coming up, what the TEF, the thermic effect of food and what it means to your diet.
And after the break, our important conversations continue. We find out what our kids think about peer pressure.
No thanks, it's okay, I don't drink beer.
We are the House of Wellness. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. Now, over the past few weeks, we've been sharing our new segment, which is an intimate look at parents talking to their kids about some hard-hitting issues. And this week, something all children experience, peer pressure, is up for discussion.
Ooh, peer pressure can be the beginning of problems for kids, from eating disorders, smoking, drinking and drug issues.
Yeah, so for all parents, this one is a must-see, as our cameras have had open access to our families while they discuss this important subject. Talking to kids about the facts of life has always been a tough gig for parents. But let's face it, our world has changed. Growing up in the 21st century is a hyper-speed experience.
Okay, here I am. Mo, do you want a beer?
And it's up to us as parents to protect and prepare our kids as best we can.
And I want to make sure that you guys know what is right or wrong, when to say yes or no.
So we asked a group of very brave mothers and fathers and their curious kids to sit down and talk through some of life's biggest and most awkward lessons. With Thanks to Nature's Way, giving your kids a healthy start, today our families are talking about peer pressure.
So, I think we should have a bit of a chat about peer pressure. Do you guys know what that means?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about peer pressure?
Not really.
You don't?
A bit. Not too much.
You can explain it. Tell me
So
what peer pressure
it's when somebody's, maybe for an example, Barbie comes up. Oh, you want to smoke? Yeah, it's really cool. Oh, come on, just one puff.
So nobody's ever asked you to do anything that you didn't want to do before?
No.
No?
Apart from you asking me to do my chores.
Actually, peer pressure is a very important topic for us to discuss. And I want to make sure that you guys know what is right or wrong, when to say yes or no.
So is it when, like, a friend tries to get you to do something that
you don't want to do?
You don't want to do?
Or like that you know that's not good. Like, for example, like if they want you to like have a sip of alcohol or, I don't know, smoke, for instance, like you're pressured to do that to actually fit in and to be one of the popular group or something.
Hi, Mo.
Hey.
I'm one of your girlfriends from school.
No, Mum.
Not girlfriends.
No.
Well, no, I don't mean girlfriends, but one of the girls who's
one
a friend.
of my mates.
One of your mates, okay. Hey, let's skip school. Like, we'll go out at lunchtime, we won't come back, and we'll go down to the park and we'll smoke. I've got some smokes, so you can come down with me. It'll be really cool. All the cool kids are going to go.
Hey, Brad, this is really nice. This is really cool. You know, this is ice, you know.
Ice.
Say,
What?
Okay, here I am. Mo, do you want a beer?
so at that instance, what is your initial, because you know sometimes it's very, you're being confronted, you are into that situation already.
And that's the pressure, like,
That's
you have to decide.
No thanks, it's okay, I don't drink beer.
That's fantastic.
Okay.
That makes me really proud when you can do that.
So what are you gonna do?
That's not our family values, is it?
No.
Yeah, we don't behave that way. And you need, I know you're strong enough to say to kids, if they offer you beer, that you're not going to have one.
Okay.
And peer pressure is also something that you think he or she is a friend, but a friend is someone that would not let you make a bad decision.
Because I remember when I was probably about your age, and I really wanted to fit in. One of the girls at school was a bit of the ringleader. She wanted to drink alcohol. Everyone was wanting to fit in and do what this girl was telling us to do. And so we did have I had a sip, and it was horrible. But it's that thing of deciding what is a friend, and would a really good friend make you do something that you don't want to do? But what I'm saying is that when that happens to you guys,
to be strong and listen to yourselves.
Yeah.
Don't need to do that. Because it will happen, and it's pretty full on when it does.
Love getting a sneak peek at these conversations. Peer pressure. And I love it when the mum was pretending to be the young lad's girlfriend too. So having these sort of conversations with your parents is never easy.
It's true. It just goes to show that the more open you can be, the more comfortable they'll be coming to you.
Now, we'll follow more of those conversations in weeks to come. But there is a new buzzword out in the food arena we're going to take a look at. Have you ever heard of TEF? What? The thermic effect of food.
Yes, we all know eating too much of certain food groups isn't good for the waistline. But did you know there are food groups that can actually increase your metabolic rate, which can help burn those calories? Now, this is getting me going.
Yes.
To find out how, we are joined by our naturopath and natural health and lifestyle guru, Dr David Jivan. Welcome, David.
Hello, Zoe. Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Congratulations. You have a beautiful baby.
I do.
May I pray for his good health and longevity?
Oh, well. Now we've gotten that covered. TEF.
Sure.
What does it mean?
Thermic effect of food. Now, it's also called postprandial thermogenesis, another fancy word, but it's a reference to the increase in the metabolic rate after you ingest food.
I love this.
Right. So metabolic rate is, of course, the rate at which the body burns calories.
Yes.
Okay? So when we look at calories, we always look at the amount of calories in food when we consume them, but we also don't realize and recognize that there is a certain amount of expenditure of energy when we consume those foods in order to digest, store.
Okay.
So if we have a, I don't know, say a donut, which might have 100 calories, we might actually, it's bad.
Like way
it's
more
a bad
than 100
example
as well.
on our health and wellness show. However, we might burn up a few calories just chewing it and digesting it.
Well, there's more to it. The general consensus in the scientific world is that about 10% of the calories you consume is utilised in digesting, storing and eliminating those foods.
Okay,
And so on.
all right, 10%, right.
So this is where it gets better. Proteins have a TEF of 25%.
So
or 25.
eating a big steak,
Correct.
you'll burn more calories breaking it down.
Correct. And fats and carbohydrates have a TEF of about 5.
Ah.
So when you consume, say, 1,000 calories of protein, 250 calories of that will be utilised in
Just
digesting
make-
it.
yeah.
Correct.
Right.
And then if you consume the same thing in carbohydrates or fat,
Hot chips.
only 50 calories will be utilised. So you've got 950 calories versus 750.
So there are some foods that are better to consume because
Correct.
of the TEF.
They have. And they found that processed foods obviously have about half the TEF of whole grains and wholesome foods, basically.
So when we're talking about the benefits of TEF,
Yes.
what is that? Is that just it's burning more calories? Is that the main benefit?
Sure, and you've probably noticed that the big buzz is also these high-protein diets.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so the difference is that if you're on a high-protein diet, you're obviously burning more calories, consuming that protein, as opposed to a carbohydrate or fat diet. And that's the advantage of it. So at the end of the day,
that's why it works. Okay.
Correct, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so the best ones would be, we look at proteins, I guess, at the top of the list.
Proteins are number one, but you can't go out and just live on protein, of course, because you'll end up probably damaging your kidney and your liver and end up constipated and end up increasing uric acid and so on.
Yeah.
So you probably want to keep it to a ratio where the protein ratio is probably greater than your carbohydrates and your fats.
Okay, and other foods, celery,
Sure,
chili.
this-
Naomi Campbell puts Tabasco sauce on everything because that's how she stays skinny.
Well, this is the
that'd be
interesting
how,
thing.
yeah.
Celery and pink grapefruit have a very tight fiber matrix, which means that the nutrients are actually locked into that fiber matrix, which requires a lot more energy and effort
to break
to
it
liberate those nutrients, right? But the other added thing is also that when you end up consuming these foods, they create what we call a negative calorie balance, which means that the amount of energy required to digest it is more than the energy it actually supplies you.
So
TEF.
fascinating.
This is the buzzword.
It's a big buzzword.
The thermic effect of food.
Correct.
Things we need to look at are fibre-rich foods like the pink grapefruit
Correct.
you mentioned there. Celery too is a good one. Up your proteins, have a complete protein intake as well. Dodge the refined sugars and carbs.
Yeah.
And chili on everything, right? A little accelerant.
Chili's great. Chili, ginger, pepper, capsicum, all renowned to increase your metabolism.
All right. Lovely to see you, Dr. David.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
We're always happy to talk health here on the TV show and on the radio as well. Sunday mornings with the House of Wellness Radio. You can catch us every morning right around the country.
And we're everywhere, aren't we? Online. So please, get amongst it.
And you can join us Sunday mornings. Still plenty more to come. It's all about your kids' health this week on the A to Z of vitamins.
Coming up, they say, don't worry, be happy. We'll show you how, and it's easier than you think.
Make sure you stay with us. This is the House of Wellness. Well, Australia's ranked as one of the top 10 happiest countries in the world, so why aren't some of us feeling happy?
And what determines happiness? Is it your life circumstances? Could it be genetics, or is it just down to luck?
Yeah, well, joining us today to find out how we can live a happier life is leading educator in lifestyle medicine, Dr Darren Morton. Nice to have you with us on the couch, Doc.
It is a pleasure to be here.
You're a former Ironman competitor, now an internationally recognised expert in lifestyle medicine. What is this new lifestyle medicine that we're chatting about?
Oh, look, lifestyle medicine to me is the new frontier of healthcare, really, because in many ways we have a disease care system as compared to a healthcare system. So lifestyle medicine is about treating the cause. You know, we know that many of the ailments that we suffer from today are lifestyle related, and so therefore it makes sense you need to treat the cause in order to have optimal effects.
So you've just published your third book, Live More Happy, and in it states that Australia is one of the 10 happiest countries in the world. So why do we need the book if we're all so happy?
Good question. Well, and you're right, we did get into the top 10, and the latest, the 2018 report indicates that we are number 10.
Just snuck in.
We just snuck
got
in.
Okay.
Last year we were number 9. So we're moving the wrong
We're
direction.
less happy.
Well, look, I think the takeaway from that is that whilst that sounds like a great news story, we're in the top 10, maybe it's just that we're the best of a bad bunch. And look, the reality is that when we look at, it's not good, when we look at the statistics and look deeper into it, we know that in Australia, the lucky country, one of the top 10 happiest countries in the world, 1 in 10 Australian adults today are taking antidepressant medications.
Yep.
Right.
Which is, and I'm not against that. And in some ways, that's a great sign that people are reaching out and seeking help. We know that has doubled in the past decade. And so, look, there are many of us that are not doing so well. And beyond that, we actually know that only about 20% of people report that they're actually flourishing in life.
Right.
So there's, it's probably 70% of the people in the middle who would say, look, I'm not down, but I'm not really thriving either.
Let's look at this top 10 of these countries. Remarkably, Finland tops it. All the Scandinavian countries are there. Throw in Iceland as well. I think Switzerland somewhere in the middle. New Zealand beats us by a couple.
Two.
But how do we find this happiness, this inner happiness? You've been looking at it for a decade and a half.
Yeah, no, look, this is an area that excites me. Now, as I said, I came from the lifestyle medicine world, and historically we've been about treating physical conditions, so your heart disease, your diabetes. But what we're discovering, and the evidence is overwhelming now, is that what's good for your body is also great for your brain. And so we're actually seeing that many of the lifestyle practices that we've advocated, putting a plant slant to your diet because food feeds your mood, motion creates emotion, so becoming more physically active, immersing in uplifting physical environments like outdoor spaces. One of the chapters I have is blue and green should often be seen. The science here is really powerful.
I love that.
But not just the lifestyle medicine world, but also this positive psychology world, which is emerging. The sort of two disciplines are emerging together. There are some fantastic insights coming from there. Things like feelings follow your focus. So when we focus on things that we're grateful for, as an example, together feels better. The whole science behind when people are connected. And we know happiness is socially contagious. 3 degrees of separation. So if someone in a social network becomes happier, the friends of their friends' friends will too.
Wow.
And then also, and from the positive psychology world, the whole idea of service and having a service mentality and the impact that
Giving
can
to
have.
others.
Giving is incredible.
All right,
Such
fantastic.
great gifts.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we've got 5 gifts to give away of your new book, Live More Happy. Listen, we'll talk about the grammar later, but I see what you're getting at. And if you'd like a copy of that, head to our website, houseofwellness.com.au, for your chance to win. Thanks for bringing us up and making us feel the happiness today.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you with us. Stay with us. More to come right after this quick break. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. A to Z of Vitamins time now. Gerald is with us as well. If we've been diagnosed with children at some point, it's a certainty they'll come into contact with germs over the coming months, won't they?
And they're fussy eaters, Ed, and they lurch from one little issue to the other. They go down the gurgler quickly and they recover fairly quickly as well. And we like to think they get a balanced diet, but on average they don't. So today I just want to focus on a couple of things. We talk about calcium for older people, but calcium is very important for children. A lot of kids get growing pains, and that's a sign they're not getting enough calcium in their food. So a logical thing to do is to give them some sort of perhaps chewable calcium supplement. We talk about concentration and ability to learn, and we all think our children are the brightest things around. But we know that fish oil is important, fish to eat, but a lot of kids don't eat fish.
Yep.
So when you're looking at a fish oil supplement, look at something with higher levels of DHA, one of the 2 essential fatty acids in omega-3s, because DHA is important for brain function.
All right. Now we've just got to get them to eat all the healthy stuff.
Well, that's ideal, and it's not easy, but as we've seen from all of the sessions we've done, it's nurturing and encouraging and making sure we eat those things ourselves.
All right.
Or as Zoe does, tricking them.
All right, important stuff there. By the way, the A to Z of vitamins brought to us today by Healthy Care, a brand you can trust for outstanding value and high-quality vitamins. Choose Healthy Care today. All right, we have time for some more of your calls. Amy's been standing by patiently in Red Hill in Victoria. Hi there, Amy. How can we help you out?
I have chronic hives and bacteria in the stomach. I take Radentide and Nexium, but they don't seem to help much. Is there anything I can take?
Yeah, certainly some tummy issues.
Some tummy, and Amy, it shows that your whole immune system and gastrointestinal system is out of whack. Now, some would say that it's the proton pump inhibitor drug that you're taking, which could be causing this.
Yeah.
Maybe have a chat to the doctor about that. There are other options, but supporting her gut function is the most important thing.
Absolutely. All right, follow that through, Amy. We come to you, Tilly, in Elizabeth in South Australia. What's your question?
Are there any benefits in using molasses?
Molasses, there's one.
It's very old-fashioned. We don't talk about molasses. Look, it's a byproduct of sugar. So any whole food is good. It's rich in lots of nutrients, obviously very thick and gooey, but if you enjoy using it, Tilly, then go for your life.
Good old molasses. All right, Tilly. Let's wrap up with this last email. It's come to us from Toowoomba in Queensland from Sue. She writes, I usually exercise every day, either laps in the pool or 45 minutes on the cross trainer. Today and yesterday, though, she says, I'm feeling a bit like I'm getting a cold or something. Should I exercise today or rest?
Rest. Exercise gently, but not push yourself too hard, because it shows your body is trying to combat an infection, so let it rest and cope rather than go too hard.
All righty, take it easy, Sue. So you can get advice, seek it and be answered straight away. Just about to wrap things up. Next week, though, we have a great show coming up. You will want to join us for this one. It's all about mothers. Aww. Yes, we'll be celebrating the mothers of Australia. We have a very special edition you will want to catch. Now, new mother, what did you learn and love from today?
Do you know what I loved? I loved Live More Happy and the book. So I'm going to get that one. Maybe not off the 5 that we're giving away, but I'm going to flick through it and get more happy.
All right. Thanks for being on the show, you guys. Don't forget to, you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, of course, as well. Loads more info up for grabs there. Thanks for joining us today, all our team here. Thanks to our friends at Chemist Warehouse as well. That is it for us. Have a healthy and well week. We'll see you soon.
Bye.